What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to another video. This is your pregame prediction video for the divisional playoff game between the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. Let's talk about it.
Looking down the field, Lamb, 10, 5, victory! Touchdown, Ezekiel Elliott. How about the rookie Micah Parsons? What a play!
Defense wins championships, but the Super Bowl is won by the quarterback.
Well, welcome back to another video. Before we jump in, be sure to hit the like button and hit subscribe for more Cowboys content. Hopefully we're here for another week, right? We're in this weird limbo right now where I usually say we're here for all season, but as we know, it's the playoffs. Anything could happen. I could be making a different kind of video next week. But once again, I want to welcome you back to the channel and another pregame prediction video. And guys, this is it, y'all. But weirdly enough, let me be honest here. Let me get a couple things off my chest here, because partially, like I always tell you guys, the post-game reaction videos always get that energy off my chest, right? Whether win or lose, it always gets it off my chest and I can go to sleep or, go about my day. Same thing with the pregame prediction videos. I can get any kind of anxiety or any kind of hesitations or anything like that off my chest. Now, you guys know me. If you watched last week's pregame prediction video, I was a little hesitant. Like I told you guys, I was like, it's a toss-up. I really don't know which team to expect. This week, it's not really that. I don't feel hesitant. There's not really, I'm calm, weirdly enough. Like, I'm just really at a point where I'm super excited to see this game. I want to see this game. It's not necessarily like I'm anxious. Like, before the game started Monday night, the whole day I was just pacing back and forth. And so this game's a little bit different because I'm just like, let's play. Let's play. Let's see who comes out on top. And then we'll talk after. I mean, that's just as simple as it can be, right? But anyways, the Cowboys were 12-5 this season, as you guys know, with the win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They defeated they defeated Tom Brady and the Buccaneers to go 13-5 on the season, but also, more importantly, advance to the next round of the playoffs. On the other side of that, you have the San Francisco 49ers, who went into the playoffs as a number 2 seed. They went 13-4 on the season. They beat the Seattle Seahawks last week. They beat them like a drum. They beat them like they stole something. In the first half, it was pretty exciting. I was actually pretty surprised about how competitive that first half was, but they ran away with the game. They ultimately won 41-23. Now, a little fun fact about the 49ers. They're hot. They're red, white, hot. They are on an 11-game winning streak. They have not lost since before Halloween. Last time they lost was October 23rd to the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost 44-23. Since then, they beat the Rams in Los Angeles. They beat the Chargers. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Saints. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Buccaneers. They beat the Seahawks. They beat the Commanders. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Cardinals. Now, as I say that, and we're probably going to jump into that a little bit, impressive. Anytime you win a game, it's impressive, in my opinion. You guys heard me talk about that before. But let's look at those opponents just a little bit. And I've been down this road before here. Remember when we played the Vikings and they had a great record? They were, 9-1? And I said to y'all, hold up. Hold the phone. There's a little bit of suspect. There's some suspicion going on right here. If I'm going to quote Elvis Presley, I have some suspicious minds regarding this. Now, back then, the Vikings, we looked at their team stats, and yeah, they were frauds. Their team stats weren't aligning with the team that they were, and their point differential was just ridiculously, it was 0 at that time. But who they're playing, who they played, the Chargers, that's a good win. They beat them by 6. They beat Herbert and the Chargers 22-16 at home. The Dolphins, I don't believe Tua was playing that game regardless. Comment down below if I missed that, if he was playing or wasn't playing regardless. You beat the Buccaneers, you beat the brakes off of them. Regardless, I'll be unbiased in this sense. The Cowboys did what they were supposed to do, y'all. And I think the only hesitation, I've been saying this all week, is the only hesitation is that Commanders game. It threw us all off guard. And I think if the Cowboys won that Commanders game, I think we would have felt a lot confident going into the Buccaneers game. But because they laid an egg, it just really brought up some doubts. And we're like, going against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, that might be something. But it wasn't. The Cowboys handled their business last week as they should. And like I always tell you guys, good teams do that. great teams do it consistently. And that's my only thing when I look at this schedule is, who have they played? Again, you're going to hear me talk about it in this pregame prediction video. I respect the heck out of the 49ers. I appreciate and respect what the 49ers have done this season, and they are a great football team. And they are heavily favored in this game. Make no mistake about it. As they should be. They're a great team. They're coached really well. They've been competitive in the postseason year in and year out. Here's the deal. If you can lose your starting quarterback and then lose the backup quarterback to your starting quarterback, albeit, it was Jimmy Garoppolo who was a starter in this league. But also go back to Brock Purdy, the backup to your backup, and still win the amount of games that you've had. I got to tip my hat to you. That's just good football, right? At the end of the day, I know we're Cowboy fans, but hopefully deep down there, you're a football fan. And you got to look at the 49ers and be like, wow, that's some very impressive football to be able to put together a season that you have. And, that's just the offense, right? The defense, man, they can fly across the field. They got some great players. Nick Bosa, who I'm sure is going to be the defensive player of the year. I know it hurts, I know. But Micah, he had a stint right there for 3 games where he just wasn't as dominant as Nick Bosa. And you got Fred Warner. They just got some really great players for the 49ers. Now, reminder, this is a rematch, y'all. It's a rematch from last season, and if you want to visit my post-game reaction video, it's actually the most viewed video on my channel right now. The wild card matchup from last season. The Cowboys had a home game at AT&T Stadium. They ultimately lost 23-17. But oh my, how the roles have reversed, haven't they? The Cowboys were 12-5 last year going into that game. And the 49ers were 11-6 going into that game. So, again, we're with the 1-game difference because the Cowboys are coming in, 12 wins. They had 13 wins this season. So we're going into their house this time, and we all know what happened. We all know what the 49ers did to the Cowboys. They upset us, and a lot of people expected the Cowboys to win that game. Now, here's another fun fact for y'all. This is the 9th time. And I don't think that you can tell the history of the NFL without including both of these iconic franchises, the 49ers and the Cowboys. And if you're a new fan, I encourage you. You can't just even talk about the 90s. You got to go back to the 80s and the 70s, y'all, when you're talking about these teams. Because there are some significant matchups there. And I'm going to put the graphic up there. There's all 8 matchups between both of these teams in the playoffs. Like I said, you got the catch, you got the showdown in the 90s where these two teams just kept bumping heads. The Cowboys got the better half sometimes, and the 49ers, they won a couple of times there as well. And then last year was the first time that they met each other in the playoffs since 1994. And now we're just redoing it. We're bumping heads again. I'm really not the one to look into the 49ers beat us twice in the 70s and then we beat them 3 times. I'm not going to do any of that. That's just dumb. That's stupid. But it does tell you that these two teams are great franchises. They compete really well against each other no matter who's their quarterback, no matter who's on their team. And this is going to definitely be another addition to this incredible rivalry between both of these teams. And the Cowboys, they got the edge. They're 5-3 overall in 8 of those matchups, with the 9th one coming this Sunday. Now, if maybe you can tell by my demeanor, yeah, I like the Cowboys in this game. Something about it. And I would tell you straight up, man, if I felt like the season was going to be over. There's something different about this team. And I tell you guys, I've been telling you that all season long. I really admire the way that they've bounced back in losses. I really like the way when they put up a good game, how they look. They look fantastic. And I think when they're playing at their best, when you look at the Vikings tape and if you look at the Buccaneers tape, which was near, perfect in my opinion, except the obviously the missed field goals from Brett Maher, but also the couple drives that started the game. When the Cowboys are playing at that level and when their quarterback, Dak Prescott, is playing that way and Micah Parsons is playing that way, it's hard to stop this team, in my opinion, especially a team like the 49ers. And so I like the Cowboys in this matchup, and dare I say, I like them as underdogs. I feel like the roles have been reversed. And this is the reason why I like the Cowboys in a matchup like this. I feel, and we should know this, Cowboys fans, we should know this very, very well, that we know that the Cowboys are always heavily favored, right? They are favored in a lot of big-time games. And in my opinion, in my experience of watching this team play in big games throughout the years, the pressure gets to them mentally. It will always get to them, and there'll always be a breakdown. And it's always when they're expected to win. But what happens when they're not expected to win? Well, the Cowboys, when the spotlight's not on them, they play really well. And it's the Cowboys against the world right now. Everyone's choosing the 49ers. Everyone's saying San Francisco's already booked their trip to Philadelphia to play in the NFC Championship game. And if it happens, it happens. And kudos to the 49ers because, like I said, I like their team. They're a really great team. But I like the Cowboys as underdogs in this upcoming playoff game. So let's jump into the team stats, shall we? We got the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. Well, I'm going to cut to the chase, and you can see it right there. The 49ers are better in every category. Cowboys are 10th in offense, which would look pretty good on any day, but the 49ers are 5th in offense, and that's a huge – I'm tipping my hat to Kyle Shanahan on that. The Cowboys are 13th in defense, while the 49ers are 2nd in defense. The Cowboys are 14th in passing. The 49ers are 13th in passing. The Cowboys are 8th in rushing, and the 49ers are 7th in rushing. If it weren't for those first two categories that you see there, these two teams match up pretty well offensively. But like I said, I'm impressed with the 49ers. I'm impressed with what they've done thus far in this season. But I don't believe that they have seen a team like our Dallas Cowboys. And if the Cowboys are as focused as they sound like they are as the week is progressing, yeah, this is going to be a good game between these two teams. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by either teams. This game is going to come down to the final minutes. This is going to be a trench war between both these teams. And it's going to be like two boxers in their prime going at it, both putting up, slug. When we look back at the past postseasons, usually sometimes you could say, oh, that division matchup, oh, yeah, that was the NFC Championship. Oh, yeah, that was the AFC Championship for that game. That's how I feel about this game. I feel like whoever comes out on top, I think they very well may go to the Super Bowl. And we may very well look back and be like, oh, that NFC Championship game that they actually had, easy. But that division game, that divisional game that they had, yeah, that was the NFC Championship right there. So that's how I feel about this game. Let's take a look at the pressures from Wild Card Weekend. Micah Parsons, man, he showed out. And this is, told you, this is the game that the Cowboys needed against the Buccaneers. They needed a game like that with the spotlight on them, with everyone watching them, with a lot of pressure on the road, on grass, against the GOAT. And they needed a game like that to perform. And Micah Parsons had 8 pressures, the most out of anybody in Wild Card Weekend. Now, defense coordinator Dan Quinn, I know you got a lot of interviews coming up here, and I know I know he's pretty good at keeping the main thing. But he's got to get creative with this offense. Kyle Shanahan's going to be super creative with his schemes, formations, trying to get Deebo Samuel going, trying to get Christian McCaffrey going. Well, I think Dan Quinn is just the guy that I would love in a position like this to be just as creative moving his pieces around. And I'm talking about Micah Parsons. They got to know where Micah Parsons is each and every play. Because last year, I'm going to be curt, they neutralized him. Micah Parsons was not effective in any way last year in the wild card game. I know these two teams are different now, but Micah needs to be moved around. You can't just put him on the edge on Trent Williams' side and hope for a sack or a pressure there. You got to move Micah around. You got to put this offense, you got to put the 49ers offense on skates. You got to put the pressure on them. You got to put the pressure on Brock Purdy. And you know what? If we put the pressure on Brock Purdy and we force him to make throws and we force him to win the game, if he beats us, I can go to sleep Sunday night. I'll go to sleep Sunday night and be like, Brock Purdy played the game of his life. He outplayed the Dallas Cowboys. I'm okay with that. But the point is, You got to put the pressure on him. You can't make it easy on him. I mean, you look at the film, you look at the all-22, these 49er wide receivers are getting open. And that's a huge, that's a huge kudos to Kyle Shanahan and his schemes, but also the talent on this roster. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey. Cowboys got their hands full here defensively coming up here on Sunday, but they got guys. There's no injuries here, except obviously Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown. But I like Israel Mukuamu. He had a great game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wild card game, and I really like DeRon Bland. So I think the Cowboys can really pull off something really here. I'm serious. They can pull it off. There's a game plan. There's a play call sheet out there that has a big fat W on it for the Dallas Cowboys. And this game is going to be earned, and this game is not going to be easy, like I said. But there is a chance out here to win. And I expect Leighton Vander Esch to also be a big piece to this offense right here. He's got to be that main run stopper, especially if they're trying to get Christian McCaffrey going. You look at last year's wild card game, they had over, 150 rushing yards? Yeah, I think if we can hold them underneath 100 rush yards, keep your eye on that. Because if we can keep them below 100 rushing yards, I like our chances. But if it gets over 125, yeah, we're going into dangerous territory right there. So keep your eye on that as the game goes on. But I got defensive predictions for this game. Like I said, I like the Cowboys in this game. I like the matchups. I like our boys. I like how they're underdogs. And I don't know. I don't really trust the 49ers. But if you beat us, you beat us, and I'm okay with that. You're not going to hear any flack from me. But here's my defensive predictions. I think we get 2 sacks on the 49ers. I think we take down Purdy twice. But here's the big thing here. I think the Cowboys pick off Purdy twice. Yeah. I don't know if Purdy has played a defense like he has ours, and I think our pressure may ruffle his feathers just a little bit. So I'm predicting 2 interceptions. But let's talk about this offense right here, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me as we're watching, as we're preparing for this big time divisional playoff game. So let's jump into it. Dak Prescott in the offense. There's no secret about it. Dak Prescott played the greatest game of his life last week. In the wild card matchup, he had a spectacular game. 25 of 33, and you'll see the graphic right here on my side. 305 yards, 4 touchdowns. Ran one in himself, had 5 total touchdowns. He was incredible. I would love to see that again. I don't know if we are, but you never know with the playoffs. Playoff Dak. Maybe that's the thing that we got to talk about. Playoff Dak. Because statistically, he's never really had a bad game, to be honest, in the playoffs. He's never had a flat-out awful game. But I think you got to look at the Eagles game. You got to look at how Dak Prescott played against a really good defense like the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, Dak Prescott can really tear apart a good defense. Now, this is going to be the toughest defense he'll probably ever see in his career. I know that's a lot to say, but we definitely need him to be on his A game. Dak Prescott was also the highest graded quarterback per PFF in the wild card weekend, had an 88.6. You'll see the graphic up there as well. And on top of that, he also had the highest passer rating with 143.3. Right behind him was Brock Purdy, 131.5. Granted, you look at both the defenses that they played. But here's the thing. The ball has to come out of Dak's hands fast. You look at the 49ers defense, they're just as known, if not more, known for their pressures and for their sacks, more than the Dallas Cowboys. They got to get the ball out of Dak's hands. None of these option routes, none of these long developing plays, none of these curl routes all in the middle. That's the other thing. Kellen Moore has to call another great game. Can we expect this Dallas Cowboys team to be consistent and follow up their great performance against the Buccaneers in the wild card round? Now do it against a tougher team and adjust a little bit right as the game goes on. And so you got to give it to your playmakers. You got to get CeeDee Lamb involved. We've seen games where they haven't been able to get CeeDee Lamb involved. It hurt us. We've lost those games. But if we can get CeeDee Lamb going, if we can get Tony Pollard going in the run game, in the pass game, I like our chances. And I think that first game really did give Dak Prescott a confidence boost right there, because the way he came out in the second drive, he was missing passes. He wasn't putting it on the money. But the game settled down. The pressure went down. And Dak Prescott settled in. And you know the rest. 25-33 over 300 yards, 5 total touchdowns. But let's talk about this because I did reference him. Tony Pollard. You got to get the ball into playmakers' hands. And I love how Kellen Moore and the Cowboys opted more for Tony Pollard. That's no coincidence. They went to their playmakers, the players that have gotten them this far this season. They got the ball to them and said, hey, go win us this game. You look at the stat right here, past 40 carries. We have Zeke at 74 yards, Tony Pollard at 157 yards. Guys, the writing's on the wall. It's pretty obvious. I don't mind using Zeke in short yardage situations. I mean, he didn't really look good in them last week against Tampa Bay. He had a chance to run one in at the 1 yard line, couldn't get it in, so we had to do a naked bootleg on 4th and 1 with Dak Prescott to get a touchdown. So I don't even know if I'm too confident in that, to be honest. I'd rather maybe run a quarterback sneak instead of with Zeke. He's just losing that explosiveness. So, I mean, writing's on the walls, guys. I mean, if the Cowboys got rid of Dez Bryant as much as they loved him and as much as a great player that he's been for the franchise, they can do the same thing with Ezekiel Elliott. I'm just, writing's on the wall. You got to go with Tony Pollard here. It's not about money on the field anymore. This is playoff football. Cowboys can't get in the way of themselves here. They can't afford to against a good team like the 49ers. So you got to utilize Tony Pollard more than Zeke. And I'm so sorry I'm picking my eye because I got something in my eye in this entire video. I apologize. But I do got offensive predictions here. And I think they're going to be pretty simple today because I really don't know how the running game's going to look. I would love to see Tony Pollard get over 75 yards. I would love to see it be balanced in that way. But my offensive prediction is just centered around Dak Prescott. And last week I said he wasn't going to throw any interceptions. Well, guess what? He didn't throw any interceptions. But I think he throws one here. I think he throws maybe I at least know he throws one, maybe two. But that's just honestly my respect and tipping my hat to this 49ers defense. At one point it's going to happen. And don't freak out. Don't freak out. I just hope it's not like a we're inside of our 20 and he throws an interception. Or no, like not a pick six or something like that. I hope it's like one of those interceptions where he just throws it really far and it acts almost just as a punt on like a 3rd and long where he had nothing else to do. That's my best case scenario. And I wouldn't be surprised if it happened in the first half. It's usually, the second half where you don't want to throw an interception because that can really change the game. But that's it. Those are my offense predictions. 1 interception, I believe, for Dak Prescott and 2 touchdowns. I think number 4, Dak Prescott gets 2 touchdowns. But here we go, guys. Offensive prediction. My prediction for this game coming up. And I got to share this with you. Look, guys, like I said at the beginning of the video, I have a gut feeling about this game. I have a gut feeling about this game, and I love the fact that we're underdogs. We've been on the other side of this where the Cowboys have been favored, and then the underdog comes into our house, upsets our season, and it's over. I like how the Cowboys are on the other side of that, and I know the players love it too. They play better. And everyone's talking about the 49ers and their great defense, and rightfully so. They're 13-4. They, completely blew out the Seahawks last week. They're a really great team. But, and also here's the other thing too. The extra rest thing is just the stupidest thing I've been hearing all week. Oh, the Cowboys hate that there's not that. No, the Cowboys have had a couple of short turnarounds the past couple of weeks or throughout the season, Thanksgiving, before the Titans Thursday night game. They're well familiar with short turnarounds. So I don't think it's a disadvantage as much as a lot of people have led it to believe. The Cowboys are prepared for it, and they're not going to spend a second that they would at preparing for the 49ers to use it to start complaining about rest days, rest time, whatever. In fact, I prefer it, to be honest, for this team. You just got off a game. Let's keep going with that momentum. Let's carry it into the next game. Albeit, obviously rest is a huge important part of the game. But here we go, guys. I like the Cowboys in this game. And I'm not just saying that because the wall and the channel. I like the Cowboys. And usually in the playoffs, it really doesn't matter, right? You could be the better team on paper. You could have the better record through the regular season. And yes, you could actually be the better team. But all that matters is, are you the better team that day? When you line up, helmet to helmet, right across the line of scrimmage, are you the better team? And I believe the Dallas Cowboys can be the better team on Sunday. So I believe the Dallas Cowboys win. Yes, that would be crazy, right? Because that would mean the Dallas Cowboys would go to the NFC Championship for the first time since '95. I believe it. The Cowboys will defeat the San Francisco 49ers in an upset. It's going to be a tough fight, like I said. It's going to be body blows. It's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be like watching two boxers in the ring. It's going to be a trench war, guys. And it's going to be a hell of a game. But the Cowboys are going to come out on top. And like I said, this might just be the NFC Championship here, in my opinion. The Cowboys win a close one by 3. I'm picking the Cowboys 26-23. I believe the Cowboys win and the season's not over. I believe the season goes on. But be sure to like the video. Be sure to subscribe for more Cowboys content. You'll see me after the post-game reaction. You'll see me after the game for that. And you'll also check out the Madden prediction video as well. Obviously, I'm doing all other content for the Madden playoffs. But I'm also doing, you'll see that for the Cowboys and the 49ers. But drop down below your score prediction and tell me who you think's going to be the key play. Who's going to be the X factor to this game? Comment down below. I really want to know. And I'll see you guys after the game. Go Cowboys!
Looking down the field, Lamb, 10, 5, victory! Touchdown, Ezekiel Elliott. How about the rookie Micah Parsons? What a play!
Defense wins championships, but the Super Bowl is won by the quarterback.